YouTube, what is up? James Biggie here, and wow, it's been a long time since I've made a video for this channel. Yeah, sorry for that. For the 30 subscribers I have here at this current moment, and the two of you who actually watch the videos semi regularly. You know who you are, but my Gmail account settings are out of date. Whoops. No, yeah, it's been a while, but I thought I would jump on board with a movie review. I'm going to start out, and I'm going to keep it spoiler free at the beginning. For those who watch his videos, this is the Boogie 2988 format of video reviews. So he starts the first half. Will be spoiler free, and then the second half of the video will be spoilers, and the first half, like I said, that's why I keep it initial reaction and opinion on the movie itself. So I will warn before we get into spoilers. Those who don't know, the DC extended universe in the film world of DC started with Man of Steel, Superman. And I felt it a decent start. I liked that movie enough. It had some problems, but it was fine, and it was a decent way to anchor their universe, trying to do the Marvel thing. They moved on to Batman versus Superman, where they introduced a new Batman, and he fought Superman, and Wonder Woman was there, and it was a mess. They then did Suicide Squad, and that movie was hot garbage. So they started out okay, went to sloppy, and then trash. And then Wonder Woman came out. Wonder Woman was fantastic. I've reviewed it on this channel. Still holds up. Great movie. Best thing they've done since the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. And then the Justice League happened. And I went and saw it this week. I happened to see it the same day that the trailer for the Avengers Infinity War came out. I'm not going to talk about the Infinity War trailer because this is about Justice League, but I feel like seeing it the same day that that trailer happened didn't make me feel any differently about the movie, but was just a strange coincidence. What can I say about the Justice League without getting into spoiler territory? I can say that the movie's entertaining. It's not that long. And there's a lot of stuff that happens that is not confusing because you know what's happening, but knowing where they came from and what the initial plan was for where they were going to go with these movies, it felt really awkward and hard to understand why. The movie itself felt pretty disjointed. It felt pretty rushed in areas. It was a lighter tone than any of the other DC movies, save for Wonder Woman. So that was nice, but it just felt like they were trying to juggle too many or spin too many plates in one movie and not really give any one particular story thread or one character their due. And the villain, for those who don't know, I don't think this is a spoiler. I think most knew, is a character called Steppenwolf from DC Comics. And though I'm not entirely that well versed on the non-Batman, non-Green Lantern related villains in the DC universe, Steppenwolf was an awkward choice, but with what they intended to do, which they kind of scrapped and turned away from mid-filming this movie, it would have made sense. That being said, the villain, Steppenwolf, felt very flat and very, the story itself ended up being predictable And for that reason, I left this movie feeling like, meh. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever watched. It was certainly not nearly as bad as Suicide Squad. It was entertaining. It was easy to digest. It didn't make you think at all. And it didn't really make you feel. And beyond like some small moments. And that's unfortunate. Because, and again, you always have to draw the comparisons to Marvel, because DC is trying so desperately to have what Marvel has. When you watch a Marvel movie, regardless of whether it's their best movies, like Guardians of the Galaxy, or Winter Soldier, or the first Avengers, or the first Iron Man, or it's one of their worst movies, like the second Thor movie, or the second Iron Man movie, or the even like the first Thor movie wasn't the greatest, or Avengers Age of Ultron. Regardless of whether it's their best or like one of their worst, their movies always make you feel something for some of the characters, for some of the things going on, the people involved, and some of them make you, while they're big, explodey, adventure-related movies, some of them make you kind of think, or at least have a very clear, concise story where you have some sort of investment in what's happening. Justice League kind of didn't have any of that. It felt on par with maybe some of the worst of the Marvel movies. I still feel Thor 2 was probably a better movie. Thor: The Dark World, or Iron Man 2, probably an equal to or greater than movie. But it just didn't feel like it reached the full potential. There were moments, but beyond that, it just felt kind of forgettable. While I wanted to love it, I really did. And there were parts I enjoyed, and like my favorite part of the entire movie I will talk about in great depth, and then talk about a little bit of what disappointed me about it. It just didn't feel like they had an opportunity, and it feels like they just kind of they kind of limped out of the gate with this sort of uninspired take on a group of heroes who are their cream of the crop, their best known, most popular, most beloved characters for the most part, except Cyborg. Who really loves Cyborg? I guess Teen Titans folks love Cyborg. But it just didn't feel great. That's where I'll leave my feeling on it. Now I'll talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen the movie and you really, really want to, and you're really excited for the story that it tells, and you want to go in and be surprised at what happens, although it's terribly predictable, there will be spoilers here. So this picture here, you see Flash, Superman, Cyborg, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Aquaman. When this is on the screen, it's safe to listen. But here, we'll change the picture, and we'll look at Aquaman here. No, it's too small. We'll look at the poster here. When this poster comes up, we are now in spoiler territory. This is a much worse version of what Boogie 2988 does. But yeah, now that this poster is up, there will be spoilers. You can't save the world alone. You can't save yourself from spoilers if this is on the screen. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers. Spoilers, spoilers. You have been warned. You can no longer get mad. Wow, the Justice League. Spoilers. Yeah, there's a lot going on all at once, but also a lot of nothing really happening. The opening of the movie was Batman, who was originally, it looked like he was capturing or tracking down and capturing like a burglar or a criminal, and we find out that that was just a ruse to kind of inspire fear in this criminal and to attract a parademon. For those who don't know what parademons were, in the comics, they were sort of like the precursor or like the minions of Darkseid. In this movie, they look like a little Wizard of Oz flying monkey-ish, but they're like these like insectile-looking humanoid creatures with goggles and like Star Wars-y looking blaster guns, and so they kind of look ridiculous, but they, I guess, are attracted to the fear in people, and if people are in fear, which when you see one of these things, you're like, damn, that's sketchy, this giant bug thing with a fucking gun, I should fear that. That brings more of them on, so it's a bad situation. So Batman captures this criminal, scares the shit out of him by fucking anchoring him over the edge of a building, and then Parademon shows up and he like nets the Parademon against a wall, and the Parademon self-destructs for reasons. Who knows? And then some insignificant stuff happens, and then Wonder Woman, there's a really good scene with Wonder Woman where it introduces her in the movie, where she is stopping like this heist sort of thing where these criminals have rigged up a bomb, and for reasons, because the world is without Superman and humanity is doomed, so fuck them, let's blow them up, and threaten to blow up 4 square blocks. And Wonder Woman comes and saves the day, and it is a really cool action sequence, and it built on the visual look of the Wonder Woman movie as far as the fighting and action goes. Excuse me. And it was really fun. That was a cool part of the movie. But it didn't do much for the story other than be like, yeah, people are mad that the world's kind of gone to shit, so they're going to blow stuff up for reasons. It was just like a very loose, very lazy reason to show a cool Wonder Woman action sequence, which that's cool. Like, you don't need a good excuse to show a sequence of Wonder Woman kicking ass. You could just do that, and that's fine. But it was a neat, albeit unnecessary scene. The whole premise of this movie, by the way, is there are these 3 boxes. They call them the Mother Box. So it's a superhero team-up movie where there is a box that contains some sort of power. If that doesn't sound familiar, in 2012 there was a superhero team-up movie where there was a box that contained some sort of power. And the villain of this film, Steppenwolf, his mission was to collect these boxes from Earth, because when they combine, they create this power that allows him to, I guess, destroy the world, conquer the world, repurpose the Earth for his own realm, I guess. They never really, like, it's clear when you watch it kind of what's going on, but it's just like a really loose, like, I need to get these boxes and combine them, and then I take shit over. We don't know why. We don't know what the entire purpose is based on what's in this movie. We know by what was cut out of this movie, which was Darkseid, that it was supposed to be Darkseid. That, like, he's kind of clearing the way for Darkseid to come and take over the Earth in the absence of Superman, because he's dead from Batman vs. Superman. It felt really lazy to have another superhero movie where they're trying to get the box, and the heroes have to prevent the bad guy from getting the box. And the whole premise was like these three pieces of the box, or these three separate mother boxes, as they called, combined to form what they called the Unity, which is silly as shit to me. Every time he said, I have the Unity now, or I'm creating the Unity, or whatever the fuck, all I could think of is Dave Chappelle as Rick James saying, Unity! And it made me chuckle every single time and kind of took me out of the heft and the seriousness of the movie. So, one of the boxes was contained in Themyscira, Wonder Woman's homeland, home of the Amazons, and was being guarded by the Amazons. The other box was contained in Atlantis, where, of course, we know Aquaman is half Atlantean, and thus guarded by the Atlanteans, and put there to be protected by the Atlanteans. The third piece of the box was Man's part of the box and was buried somewhere in fucking Yugoslavia or the Czech Republic or Russia or Czechoslovakia or somewhere in Eastern Europe or Western Asia, whichever. Yeah. So that's where it was, and it was buried for reasons. The really dope scene that I was talking about, that was my favorite part of the entire movie, I think, was it was telling the backstory of these boxes and how they became safeguarded by the Atlanteans and the Amazons and the humans and whatever. And they showed a battle scene where, like, the Atlanteans and the Amazonians banded together, which were previously in conflict, to guard these boxes from Steppenwolf back in the day. And it was a very, like, centuries old battle that happened. And it showed on screen, like, Atlanteans and Amazons fighting, and it looked very Lord of the Rings, like, stampede of one side, good guys, stampede of bad guys, clashing and fighting and stuff. In that scene, it showed a couple Green Lanterns, which was awesome. That's my favorite part of it, because it showed in this battle these Green Lanterns fighting alongside the Atlanteans and the Amazons, trying to protect these boxes and making this giant action set piece sequence that was pretty cool looking. And the fact that there were Green Lanterns in it at all was awesome, and that they acknowledged and, like, it kind of introduced them more concrete into this universe. One of them, spoilers again, still, we're in spoilers, we never stop being in spoilers in this part of the video. One of the Green Lanterns dies and gets killed by Steppenwolf, and you watch him die, and then you see the ring come off of his finger and float off to find its next, the next worthy recipient of a Green Lantern's ring. That was awesome. I love the Green Lantern. I am one of the few people that, while obviously it wasn't a great movie, I kind of am entertained and don't mind watching the Green Lantern movie that exists with Ryan Reynolds. Just because there's some cool stuff in it, enough cool stuff, and it looked cool enough for me to be okay with it. But the fact that they brought the Green Lanterns in gives you, like, the hope that they're going to, and this is very early in the movie this happens, gives you the hope that they're going to expand upon that either within this movie or very soon after it. But they don't, because they changed a ton of things about this movie. Those of you who have seen the early trailers of Justice League, don't expect any of that stuff to be in the movie, because it's not. So the Green Lantern part was very cool, but very short. The heroes figure out that two of these boxes have been taken by Steppenwolf, the one from Themyscira, the one from Atlantis, and the third one, guarded by the humans or whatever, is still where it's supposed to be. So they figure out that they have to go get it and protect it. This, of course, comes after, like, the generic, like, we've introduced Batman right at the beginning, then Wonder Woman, these two were the known quantity, and then, like, Batman, Bruce Wayne goes on a recruiting mission to look for Aquaman and Flash and Cyborg, and they all eventually, like, band together, although Cyborg was the last one, yada yada, whatever. That stuff was fine, it was alright, whatever. I guess necessary evil. So they find the box, and then Bruce Wayne comes up with the brilliant idea because they explain that the box is what gives Cyborg his powers because he was in an accident, and to live, his father, who works at Star Labs, who's like the head of Star Labs, utilizes this box's power that he just happened to have. Excuse me, it's very late at night. To bring Cyborg back to life and give him his cybernetic powers and all that shit. A lot of exposition in this movie. A lot of, like, explaining some stuff that happened in the past. So they get this box, and Bruce Wayne comes up with the brilliant idea of using this box to go on to the Kryptonian ship that Superman crash-landed on Earth in. And if they can utilize the power of this plus whatever secret sauce is inside the ship, the Kryptonian ship, they could bring Superman back to life. So there's a scene where, like, Flash and Cyborg go grave robbing and they dig up Superman's grave and they take his body and they put him in the water, and then they're like, we got this cube, but there's not enough power to juice it up. And then the Flash is like, oh, I could give it power, so he runs real fast and shoots a fucking spark into the water or into the cube at the same time it hits the water, and for reasons that brings Superman back to life. And then Superman goes apeshit, doesn't know what's going on, and they have to fight Superman and make him realize that he is, they need his help to save the world. And then Steppenwolf gets the cube, and we think Superman's fucked off someplace, but then he shows up at the exact time, saves the day, and they defeat Steppenwolf. End of movie. Just shortcut the whole, like, last, 45 minutes. It was entertaining and predictable, but it just felt like they cut and reworked too much of the movie. I've seen some of the, parts of the script that were cut out, and apparently there was a whole scene where Batman is visited. He has a lake house in this movie in Gotham, and Bruce Wayne sees a green light flash in the room or whatever, a green light come up, and is visited by fucking Kilowog and Toman Ray or whatever, the beaked dude from Green Lantern, his name is visited by, like, Kilowog. That was cut from the movie. That would have been amazing, seeing how they threaded in the Green Lanterns early on in the movie. They could have paid off that. There was a scene where Slade Wilson broke Lex Luthor out of prison. That was cut from the movie. And then they put, at the very end of the credits, a scene where it's like Slade Wilson dressed in, like, his Deathstroke gear, talking to Lex Luthor on a boat, on, like, a yacht, and then Lex Luthor's like, looks like they have a league. It's time we start a league of our own, talking about, like, the Legion of Doom. And they set that up at the end of the movie to be like, this is what's coming, guys. When they cut the scene out of Slade Wilson breaking Lex Luthor out of prison, and, like, so the payoff is at the end, but you don't see the setup. Lots of stuff like that involved in this movie, and it was kind of a hot mess. They, for whatever reason, cut it too short and took out a lot of potentially cool stuff. The Superman fight with all the heroes was kind of cool. The Superman, Amy Adams stuff, Lois Lane stuff was okay. It tried to get you in the feels. The only time I had any feels or whatever about any of it was, like, the Superman and Martha, Ma stuff was kind of a little touching because I think Man of Steel was a movie that had some sort of emotional connection to it. And so that brought a little bit of that back, but very little. They made Barry Allen very quippy and funny, and that was cool. But beyond that, he didn't, do much. Cyborg was much cooler than I expected to. I expected him to be and here's our Iron Man. But they made him kind of a neat character, but apparently cut out a lot of his content as well. The Wonder Woman stuff was probably the best as far as action sequences go. The Aquaman stuff looked cool, the underwater, Atlantean stuff looked neat. But the character himself was just bro dude, surfer guy. And I guess that's cool, but didn't do a ton for me. I liked the personality Jason Momoa brought to it, but it just wasn't all that I thought it could have been. So that was the disjointed mess. Where they go from here, I think the next movie is Aquaman. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's great, and we get more character out of it, out of Aquaman in that movie. But I don't know if they'll do another Justice League movie. I think critically it got kind of shit on, and also commercially, it did less money than it was expected to do by a fair amount. Although it's going to make a ton of money in general, it's not a huge win for Warner Brothers and DC when they expected it to be or when they wanted it to be. That's it. That's all I've got. The Justice League, it's worth seeing. I probably will watch it maybe one or two more times in the future, but beyond that, it's a shame. They're great characters. They're interesting in the comics, and you want them to be good on screen. They just can't seem to get it right, maybe except for Wonder Woman. That's all I've got, guys. Let me know what you thought of it, if you did see it. If not, then, after you do go see it, I recommend seeing it. Don't expect much, and you'll be okay. That's all I've got. So let me know down in the comments below and shit how you felt about it. And hopefully, we have a lot of good Marvel movies coming up to look forward to. Hopefully DC gets their shit together finally. And they can move forward now that, Zack Snyder's out of the picture. Although I think if they kept a lot of his stuff in, this may have been a better movie if they just let him tell his story. I think they were in too much of panic mode this time around, so it backfired. But let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys again soon.